So, the first thing we have to do before even jumping into the top 10 QBs has to be honorable mentions. And there are three on here that I gotta say I have to make note of, just based on the fact that they were good enough to have productive seasons and they were very game changing type uh, players, but they are not exceeded that standard of being a top 10 or even getting back to a top 10 position. And my number one is Jared Goff. Jared Goff, at 28 years old, honestly, after the Super Bowl, one of the boringest Super Bowls of all time against the Pats, truly believed that this was it for him. He just seemed to spiral down out of control, eventually getting traded to Detroit and assuming, well, is he ever going to be the same? This year he really turned it on. He definitely became one of those fantastic passers, one of the elite passers in the league. It helps when you have a receiving core and an offense like Detroit. They're up and coming, and they're definitely going to be a playoff team next year. And definitely with the pieces that he had around, he did execute what he had to do. He was on the comeback player of the year list. He was sixth overall, but he also made a Pro Bowl, and so that is huge. While leading the Lions to a 9-8 record, he started every game. He had a 65.1 completion percentage, 4,438 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He passed an average of 261 yards per game. He had a 99.3 rating and a 61.1 QBR. He was sacked 23 times. He did have 3 fourth quarter comebacks and 3 game winning drives. And for rushing stats, he had 29 rushes for 73 yards. So overall, he had a great, in terms of turnaround to his career. I do believe that he is a pretty good piece to Detroit. Do I think he's the future? We'll see. I mean, this is a surprise on how well he did. We'll have to see about the future and what that holds for him. But right now, I do believe that he has definitely earned a spot as an honorable mention. The second honorable mention has to go to Kirk Cousins. Kirk, he's been doing this for so long, and regular season wise, except prime time, specifically Monday night, he is fantastic. He's a great thrower. He's intelligent. He has a great IQ for the game of football, and I mean he's a pretty good Vikings starting QB. Man, they have a lot of potential out there. I mean they have arguably the best receiver in the game in Justin Jefferson. They got in a trade T.J. Hawkinson, one of the best tight ends in the game. Adam Thielen is now not there anymore, but I'm sure they can work with something. They have some young, fast receivers out there. So the North has some great receiving core, I'll tell you that, besides Green Bay right now. But overall, Kirk Cousins can play. He can throw the ball. He is not a bad QB per se when it comes to regular season play, depending on the day. But when it comes to like prime time, it's playoff time. Like we need you. He's not the guy, and I don't think he can be the guy. I believe in the future, in the near future, they were gonna have to figure that out. But for right now, I mean, he's great to watch sometimes with the offense that he's running, right? And yeah, he's 34 years old. He did lead the Vikings to a 13-4 record. He did play in every game. He did go to the Pro Bowl. He had a 65.9 completion percentage with 4,547 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, not looking that great. He did average 267.5 yards per game. He had a 92.5 rating and a 49.9 QBR, so pretty low. He did get sacked 46 times, so their offensive line needs help. He did have 8 fourth quarter comebacks and 8 game winning drives. And when he did run the ball, he ran it 31 times for 97 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. In the playoffs, this is where Kirk Cousins does not thrive. Now, in this game, the stat line definitely showcases something else, but if you look deeper into the game, I could add a clip of it, but Did not find enough for me to really show you here. There was decision making time, and he made the wrong read or the wrong decision. And the worst decision was at the end of the game. Should have done something more there. There was definitely guys that were open. I don't know why you were throwing it on a third and long or fourth and long situation. I think it's fourth and long, where he threw it to a man out of bounds, and they were still 4 yards short for a turnover on downs against the Giants, which I thought was a winnable game for them. I did believe they were going to go far in terms of divisional, possibly championship game. I had some faith in Kirk. Unfortunately, he has kind of been a letdown for that. But in the playoff game, he did go 31 for 39. So he had a 79.5 completion percentage with 273 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. So no turnovers on his part. Just really bad game managing throws, and I just think that's really hurt him. Is the playoffs and what he's been able to do there has not been great. So overall, Kirk Cousins is an honorable mention just based on his stats alone and what he's been able to do. But hate to do this to him, but there is a crutch, and the crutch is the fact that A, he's got a great, great offense, and B, I mean, it's playoff time. There is no Kirk Cousins. He's not the QB that you want out there when it is game time, when it is crunch time. Lastly, we have Justin Fields. Justin Fields is one of the most electrifying NFL players today. He's just really, really fun to watch, entertaining. Every Sunday, you want to see a Justin Fields highlight, and you just want to see what he can do. Honestly, he's most known for his athleticism and the fact that he can outrun defenders, outrun linebackers, outrun D linemen, and can make you look foolish, right? Almost has a type of Lamar type of speed, a type of Russell Wilson kind of trickery. And I mean, he can throw the ball. He can definitely throw the ball downfield. I definitely see a potential there to being a superstar at some point. And I do believe he is going to be one of the most electrifying players this year, especially with the additions that Chicago has made. I believe this is another NFC North Division team that has a great receiving core. I believe Chase Claypool will be pretty effective. I believe Darnell Mooney will have a better year, and the trade with DJ Moore is nice. I do believe they did win with that trade. We'll see what Carolina does. I definitely can see them getting CJ Stroud. That's a very high possibility. And I mean, the fact that David Montgomery isn't there, but they did add Deontay Foreman for one year, and they do have Cole Kmet. So I do believe this is a fantastic team. They definitely need help up front. I do believe that their offensive line is not the best, and they definitely do need to protect Justin Fields at all costs. And a little bit of some training, a little bit of some work on his throwing, on his passing ability will go a long way. I do believe that he will be fine, especially because there's his running is incredible, and I don't see anything to really work on in terms of his rushing, just his passing. But I do believe he can be both. I think he can be a dual threat, and I think he can be a problem for the league, really, if you give him time to develop. He's only 24 years old, so I do not believe that he can't get better. I believe you got to give him a chance, and this is kind of the year where you can see his growth or his decline. We'll see what happens, right? All right, now, I mean, he was ninth in MVP voting with the limited stats that he did have. Honestly, it's because of the impressive rushing numbers that he did put up. The Bears were 3-12 with him. He did play 15 games. He started them. He had 60.4 completion percentage, 2,242 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Again, can limit those picks, those turnovers as a passer in this offseason, really, to get better. He did average 149.5 yards per game. Again, didn't really pass that much, but we can see a steady incline with that, especially with what he got at receiver in DJ Moore. He does have an 85.2 rating, and he had a 54 QBR, so it could be better. Again, he's young. He was sacked 55 times, which was first in the league, so that doesn't help when you have no protection and you're running for your life at that point. He had one fourth quarter comeback and he had 2 game-winning drives. He ran the ball, for sure, 160 times for 1,143 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns. He had 76.2 rushing yards per game with 7.1 yards per attempt, so pretty good. But he fumbled 16 times, first in the league. Again, limit the interceptions, limit the fumbles, limit the turnovers. That's kind of the biggest take of this QB, of this guy, is the fact that he's just got to limit his turnovers. He's got to be a better passer. But the future's bright with him. I mean, he's only 24 years old, and the Bears are looking better. They're looking like a playoff contending team. And, I mean, they're only going to go as far as Justin Fields will take them. So we'll see what his growth is this year. I do believe in him, especially because there are stories. I mean, when you look at Jalen Hurts, no one believed he was going to be what he was going to be. And what did he become? He became an Eagles cornerstone, and they got to a Super Bowl with him. So I do believe Justin Fields, with a little bit of time, some patience, I do believe we can see a exponential growth with him, and the future's bright. He's not top 10 yet, but he's going to be there. He will be there sooner than later. So that I can say, and that should make a lot of Bears fans happy. Number 10, we have Tua Tagovailoa, a very gifted young quarterback in the league. The unfortunate ability that he has so much potential, but the unfortunate thing is that he gets injured, and it's not the the sprains and the strains. It's the concussions that worry me, and the fact that this team is not protecting him as much as they should be. He's over here playing and getting, a wild concussion. I'm sure football fans know about that, the memes of his fingers going a different way and all that. So I really hope, for his sake and his future, that the team doctors, that his team, his organization, his agent, his family, all make sure that he has a successful, healthy career. We don't want him to have such a great start to his career and then have a RG3 type of situation, Robert Griffin III, and get injured so much that he can't even play football anymore like he used to, and ruin his entire career over it. So let's hopefully have that situation. Now, he is number 10 basically because of the fact that a lot of people thought he was not a great passer. He's a fantastic passer. It does help that he has Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, two of the best deep threat wide receivers in the league. But honestly, he is fantastic. He can throw the football, and he sure is making a Miami Dolphin team become fun to watch and a contender. Tua is only 25 years old. It's a third year in the league. So far, his contract this coming year, 2023, is a $1.01 million base salary with a $4.89 million signing bonus and a $3.73 million roster bonus. They also signed him to a 23.17 fifth-year option, so he will be a free agent in 2025. His stats this year: 13 games he played and started. He gave him an 8-5 record, 64.8 completion percentage with 3,548 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 272.9 yards per passing yards per game, with a 105.5 rating, a 68.8 QBR. 21 times he got sacked, 2 fourth quarter comebacks, and 2 game-winning drives, and was 9th on the MVP voting list. When he rushed, he had 23 rushes, 70 yards, and 6 fumbles. Overall, again, he is so young, and no playoff action as of right now, but it's coming soon. This AFC East team is going to be amazing, especially with the Aaron Rodgers trade that happened. It's the Jets, the Pats. The Pats are looking like the weakest link, but you can never count on a Pats team. You can't count on a Bill Belichick Pats team, honestly. So, honestly, Pats, Jets, Dolphins, and Bills. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. I think that division is going to be amazing. Again, I thought the AFC West was going to be amazing, and look what happened. It's a weird year. But I do believe Miami's going to have a threat in this division, and I definitely see Tua being a very higher ranked quarterback by the end of next year. But it all depends on his health and what they do with his health, and to make sure that he stays healthy. And definitely get him an offensive line would help a lot. So, but Tua at 10, well deserved. Number 9, we have Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is a very young football player, a very knowledgeable football player. IQ is phenomenal. Great throwing arm, great under pressure, and honestly, really made huge strides this year as being known as the head of um, the future of the Jacksonville Jaguars. This team really has a bright future on its hands. They have a lot of nice pieces. They definitely invested in some free agency in the offseason, and they're trying to get Trevor some help, which the first year of his career he had none. So we couldn't really judge on the potential of what he has last year to this year. But it is an insane improvement. And honestly, I mean, it showed. Got him to the playoffs, and he was on numerous lists for a bunch of stuff. So let's just break this down real quick. First of all, he's only 23 years old. So he's been in the league for 2 years. Honestly, has so much time on his hands to continue to be the best. He's still in a rookie contract. Next year he'll be making $4 million, and then the following year we'll be making $5.68 million. And after that, Jacksonville definitely will need to think about re-signing him, which I'm sure they will. He is the cornerstone and the franchise, so they need to re-sign him. He played all the games, played all the games, got him to a 9-8 record. They had a very ugly start to the season. They soon picked it up. Their defense was coming up big, and Trevor Lawrence came up big. His leadership really showed, definitely at such a young age. He's got some great leadership, and the guys love to play around him. You can see that definitely on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis during these games. So he's a leader. Um, this year he had 66.3 completion percentage with 4,113 yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He threw for 241.9 yards a game with a 95.2 rating. He also had a 54.5 QBR, which isn't that high, but it's also, he's still so new. So I think it's not bad, especially from last year. Got sacked 27 times, so the offensive line is definitely getting better. He also had 3 fourth quarter comebacks, and he had 2 game winning drives. So some clutch gene in there. He did rush for 62 times for 291 yards, and he had 5 touchdowns. Did have 12 fumbles, so hopefully can limit that, maybe slide more. But he is a duel, definitely on the field. In the playoffs, he did play 2 games. He had a comeback against the Chargers, and then he did lose to the eventual Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs. Both games combined, he had 60.5 completion percentage with 505 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Many of those interceptions came in that Chargers wild card game, just because they had such a slow start. He did throw for 252.5 yards a game, a 72.1 rating, and he got sacked 4 times with 1 fourth quarter comeback, 1 game winning drive, the Chargers game. 4 rushes for 34 yards, and his accolades this year, pretty great. A Pro Bowler. He was 7th on the MVP list. He was also tied for 12th for Comeback Player of the Year. So, overall, still in his rookie contract, still has a lot to prove. We'll see what he does next year. Can he replicate what he did this past year? But this time they have the division, or they have a better record, right? I do believe this division is wide open. I do believe it's kind of a division for the taking for Jacksonville. Tennessee is a mess. They're very disorganized. The Colts don't even have a quarterback, and the Texans are the Texans. So I do believe that Jacksonville has a very high chance of winning the division and having a pretty decent record. I would love to see them in prime time more, and I would love to see Trevor Lawrence in prime time. So definitely a young QB with so much potential, and he has the ability to do so many things. So I do believe that he deserves to be on this list. He is only 9, but that is because he needs to prove a little bit more. But regardless, he is solid. Number 8, we have Gino Smith. Um, So Gino is one of those players that, for some people, there's a debate on where he's ranked in terms of where he is in the league and how good of a QB he is. Point blank is that he has had a fantastic year and he has a new contract because of the belief that Seattle has on him, and with honestly not no doubt they should. I mean, they have a great core over there on the offensive side of the ball. They have a younger, and I feel like they can prove more to be more um, effective on the offensive line. I think their defense has improved a lot. I think this team with the Niners, I do believe that they're gonna have the ability to win the division. I definitely believe Seattle is back. I believe Seattle is getting back to where they need to be, and they should be very happy about it. I know fans are. I got friends that are Seahawks fans. They're excited for it, and the belief with Gino is there. It's highly there, and it might be a team bias thing, a fan bias thing, but you can't deny his skills, especially what he did this year. He is 7th. I think he is better than the guys that I mentioned before. But when we go up this list, it's a struggle to say where he's at with it because he could be higher, but also he's also just had a fantastic year off of just something that never expected. But had a great year, and yeah, he can throw the ball. He can be a great football player for him, a great quarterback, a great field general. We just got to see it again. I need to see it again personally for me to put him up higher in the ranking, right? But he's right there. We'll see what happens next year. Anyway, 32 years old, 10 years in the league, 3 years, $75 million contract extension, 40 million that he's guaranteed, 30 million for his incentives. Um, his stats, though, this year he started and played all the games. He had a 9-8 record for them. That brought him to a wild card appearance. He had a 69.8 completion percentage, which is league leading, by the way. 4,282 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 251.9 yards per game, 100.9 rating with a 60.8 QBR, sacked 46 times, had 2 fourth quarter comebacks, 3 game winning drives. He also had 68 rushes for 366 yards, 1 touchdown, 8 fumbles. Playoffs wise, 71.4 completion percentage against the 49ers. Mind you, against the 49ers, that's pretty impressive. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception for 253 yards. Got sacked 3 times. He did run the ball. He did run 4 times for 28 yards. He's not a runner. He's more of a passer. I mean, he's 32, so his legs aren't the greatest, but he can roll out if he needs to. So that's a skill. Um, he was 9th, tied for 9th in the MVP list. He was a Pro Bowler, and he is Comeback Player of the Year, respectively so. I mean, what he did this year was phenomenal, out of the blue, but also just an inspiring story. And I do believe in Gino. I think he can be very effective on this team. I feel like uh, the fact that he's now in Seattle and they've seen what he's doing, and I think with time, throughout this time, I think he'll prove it even more. Like I said, I do believe this team is a possible division winner with that fight with the Niners. We're just going to see what he does next year for me to see if I'm putting him higher, if I'm putting him the same, if I'm putting him lower. So, but great job for Gino, great story, and Seahawks fans should be happy with this. So we got number 7, Justin Herbert, 25 years old, 3 years in the league. He's number 7 just based on the fact that he's been able to put up these amazing numbers, and I believe he's more proven than the guys that I was announcing. We can't have a debate about Gino. I've had debates about Gino and him. Some people said that Gino he just had a better year, and I could say he did. I just think for the total body of work, Justin Herbert has been productive at a more consistent basis than Gino. That's why I'm putting him higher than Gino. Um, he does have 1 year left, $4.23 million. They've exercised a 5th-year option with him worth $29.5 million. His stats: he played in all games, started in all games. Mind you, he did have a rib injury when he got sacked pretty bad, I believe, in the Kansas City game. But I mean, he's a great baller. He's a great ball player. I had a 10-7 record for him, 68.2 completion percentage, 4,739 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 278 yards per game, 93.2 rating, a 58.2 QBR, sacked 38 times, 4 fourth quarter comebacks, 5 game winning drives, 54 rushes for 147 yards, 8 fumbles. In the playoffs, when he played against Jacksonville, they lost on a comeback, so that kind of hurts his kind of rating in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. He needs to step it up and get past just the first round of the playoffs. That was his first time in the playoffs, so I'll give him some credit. I'll give him some leeway on that. He's got to improve. I get it. 58.1 completion percentage in that game, 273 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, got sacked 3 times, 3 rushes for 12 yards, and a fumble. So overall, I think he was okay. I think the Chargers defense let him down. I think his receivers were injured for most of the year, and for him to put up the numbers he did, that's impressive. So I do believe he is a top-tier QB in the league. I believe he's in the top 10. It's not too hard to debate about that. Where he is on next year, we'll have to see. He's got to improve in terms of he had to close that game out. A QB, that is a killer. He's going to close that game out, even if the defense is letting down that side of, that side of the ball. So I do believe that he's got a lot of potential. He's young, and I think he's going to be great, doing great things. I think he can win an MVP, and I think he can carry a team to a Super Bowl. Just injuries, and I mean, he wasn't 100% healthy for most of the year, so you got to give him some credit there. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Right now, he's number 7 in my book, and he's got a lot of potential to keep climbing. So overall, great performance on his part, and we will see. Number 6, we have, last but not least, for this part of the top 10 QBs of 2023 and the body of work of it. Number 6 is going to be Lamar Jackson. So this is a questionable pick. This is a pick that I personally thought about for a while, and there's a reason why he is number 6. Not quite in the top 5 for me, but also not below all these other quarterbacks. First of all, he's been in the league longer, which has made him do a lot more, have a lot more on his resume. And I mean, the fact that he has won an MVP, the fact that he has led the league in rushing yards for a QB and past Michael Vick's record, the fact that he is the Baltimore Ravens offense and they go where he goes, and the fact that he doesn't have any help, right? And he doesn't have the weaponry that really, like, example, Joe Flacco had when they had that Super Bowl run. So overall, I believe Lamar has like a little bit of a crutch in terms of the fact that he doesn't have weapons. He does need to be criticized because of his throwing ability. I believe he can throw the ball down deep, but I mean, I feel like he's not going to be an elite passer in a way. I mean, maybe he can show me something, especially having, drafted Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews is back. We'll see how it goes, right? I don't know. I need to see him lead this team to an AFC title game. I need him to be deep in the playoffs. And from what I've seen, he's definitely choked. So It's a team effort, so that defense definitely let down. But also Lamar just needs to do a lot more than just run the ball. I just really feel like he needs to be more of a passer and aggressive with it. So we'll see how it goes. But he has won an MVP, so he needs to be on this list of elite QBs, right? So he's only 26 years old. He has been 5 years in the league. He's going to make 5 years, $260 million because of that contract dispute. Pretty much Baltimore tested him by saying, yeah, go look at other teams, see who wants you. Now they don't have the faith that he can actually lead an AFC title game. There should be kind of a red flag there, right? When seeing that Lamar's a great quarterback, he's elite, he's a great athlete, but they don't believe in him. Baltimore still believes that he can possibly get him to an AFC championship game. We'll see how it goes. AFC is loaded. We're going to see how that happens for him. Now, this season he played and started 12 games, 8-4 record when he was under center. 62.3 completion percentage, 2,242 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 186.8 yards per game passing wise, 91.1 rating, 59.1 QBR, 112 rushes for 764 rushing yards. Again, great on the ground this year as well. 3 rushing touchdowns, 63.7 yards per game rushing the ball with 5 fumbles. No playoffs, got injured. Huntley started, almost beat the Bengals. But why did they not beat the Bengals? It wasn't the defense. The defense was phenomenal that game. Did what they did to try to stop Jamar and company. It's really the fact that they do need Lamar. As much as people want to hate, as much as people want to criticize, as much as I want to criticize, and I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan, he is the offense. He does get it going, and his athleticism really it puts a target for the defense to know that they got to watch him. But that also opens up, passing lanes to, a Dobbins, a Mark Andrews, and hopefully a Zay Flowers can be great with Rashad Bateman, possibly having a better season this year. So I do believe that his impact is huge for the franchise. I do believe he's earned his money. Do I believe that he needed to be paid so much money like what he was wanting to be paid? No, because he hasn't had an AFC championship under his belt, and he doesn't have the number one thing that Patrick Mahomes has, which he wants to get Patrick Mahomes money. That's Super Bowl ring, okay? Patrick Mahomes is a different animal. Lamar Jackson is a different kind of player. He is a game changer. He's a generational talent in terms of his speed and his ability as to run as a QB. And his passing is not all that bad, but I don't trust his passing ability. I also don't trust his decision making at times. So I do believe he's got some work to do. I do believe a little bit of some help, maybe some offensive line. I mean, offensive line needs to improve still. Ronnie Stanley needs to stop getting injured all the time. I do believe that they have an ability of having a pretty good team now, especially with Odell as well being in there. Hopefully that revives his career a little bit in Baltimore now. But I believe Lamar has a good chance of having a great season. Hopefully he stays healthy, and hopefully he doesn't run himself to retirement, an early retirement at that.